Hello everyone, I hope that you're well. Today I'm going to be doing the Boujee Booktuber tag, which was created by Olive at abookolive, and I was tagged actually twice. First by Steve Donoghue, and Alex at whatpageareyouon. This tag is great, and I loved watching Alex's and Steve's, and also a smattering of others' responses to these questions, because everyone responded differently, and there was actually quite a discussion around one question in particular, which I will get to, and you'll probably know what it is if you have been watching these videos. And I like this tag because it gives me a window into the booktubers that I enjoy watching beyond their opinions on the books that they are reviewing. I find it so interesting, and I kind of like it. It's a little bit nosy, but I do enjoy it. So I guess I'll get started with the tag. So the first question is, what is your average monthly budget for books? Now, I don't really have a monthly budget, but according to my spreadsheet that I use to track all of my book buying and the books that I'm reading, I've spent $40 on average per month this year. There have been some months where I didn't buy any books, some months where I bought quite a few, so it averages out to $40. I've never really had a monthly budget for books. I think it's in part because I still live at home with my parents, so I don't really need to consider things like rent, and I also don't drive. I take public transport everywhere, so I don't have a car to pay for and things like that. I think once those sort of pressures start to come into my life, I will probably have to budget. The second question is, what is the most you've ever spent in a bookstore? And this will tie into, I think it's question 5, where we talk about the prices of hardbacks, paperbacks, ebooks. But Australian bookstores are notoriously overpriced. The books they sell are, especially new releases, eye-wateringly expensive. For a new release adult fiction book in hardback in Australia, you would often be finding yourself paying $45, $50, which isn't even because the currency is weaker than the pound, for instance, which is, we get a lot of books from England. It's simply because they can charge more here. I don't know what it is, but I will talk more about that when I get to the question. I don't really spend a lot of money in Australian bookstores because I only will go if I'm looking for something very specific. I don't go and kind of wander around and just pick out books and buy them because they're a lot of money. So the only time I will spend a lot of money in a bookstore is if I have a gift card or a voucher. So I think earlier this year I got a voucher for my favorite bookstore, which is Readings. I think it was $100, and I spent all of that in one go. But beyond that, I generally, if I go to a bookstore and I buy a book or two, it will usually not come to more than $40. Willing to pay full price for a brand new release, or will you wait until you have a coupon or there is a sale? I think this depends on the book and the release. If I am really excited for it, yes, I will pay full price. I don't mind because I want to have the book in my hands on release day. So I did that for The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. I got caught up in the hype and I went to that bookstore and I bought that book full price. And did I love the book? Well, spoiler, I will have a review coming out, but I didn't love the book. But I'm still glad I went and participated in the frivolities. Would you rather buy one new book or several less expensive used copies? Again, it depends on the book. If it's a book that I'm really excited about, I think this question would be hard to answer. But in most cases, I would say used copies, several used copies over one brand new book, because at the end of the day, it's the words that are inside the book that matter, not the physical object, although I do love books as physical objects. What do you think is reasonable for a new hardback book, a paperback, an ebook? Okay, so here's the fun part, because I get to rant about Australian book prices. So in Australia, there's a reason why bookstores generally don't stock hardbacks, new release hardbacks, unless that is the only way they are published. So in Australia, we generally will get trade paperbacks only of new adult fiction releases. Again, there are exceptions. The Testaments is one of those. But if the book is not printed in Australia as a hardback, we will always get the trade paperback. It's not like they're going to ship over books from the UK, the hardback books. They're not going to ship those over. You can order them if you want, but they are just so exorbitantly priced that I wouldn't bother ordering them through a local bookstore. Instead, I would just order them on Book Depository. But Australia is known for its price gouging, and books are no exception in this equation, and very little has changed over the years. So here's an example. Marlon James's new novel retails in the UK for £20 in hardback. £20 at the time when the book came out converted to around 37 Australian dollars. Now, when I looked at my local bookstore's website, they had the book for 50 Australian dollars. This price hike just felt so arbitrary to me. Yes, there might be a few dollars up to ship the book, but what's all the rest of that, $13 going to? Because surely the retail price factors in the fact that the bookstore needs to make money too. So this artificial inflation seems really off to me. And to be honest, the price of a new hardback book, in my opinion, should just be around 35 Australian dollars. I think that they would sell a lot more of them if they did that. The thing is, the trade paperbacks are priced at $30 to $33. And for me, sometimes that's okay, especially if the trade paperback is thick. They generally don't make a distinction. So if it's 700 pages, they'll charge the same amount as if it were 300 pages. That bothers me a lot. Where thin books are priced the same as really thick books. Makes no sense to me. For a trade paperback, I would happily pay $27, $28. I think the only book price that they've got reasonably right is the B format paperback books, which I actually prefer to trade paperbacks. If it's not a hardback, it'll be a B format paperback for me. And those are usually 20 to 23. I think that's fine personally, but always, if it's closer to 20, it's better. Is a signed book worth more to you? How about a first edition? No, I don't really care. Sometimes I catch myself looking to see if a book is a first edition when in reality it actually has no significance to me beyond increasing the resale value for that book if I decide to sell it down the line. But very rarely does that precipitate any kind of huge gain, right? Most books, first editions, you might be able to sell them for around the same price that you bought the book for. There are some books that will sell for thousands, and if you have one, you're very lucky, but I tend to not get too strung up about, getting a first edition or first printing. I just want to enjoy the book, so that's my main concern. So the next question is, what is your most valuable book, sentimental or actual value? I'm going to address both parts to this question. I'll start with the sentimental aspect. So the book I want to talk about here is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I actually don't like this book very much, and I read it when I was about 15. I think, your teenage years are probably the best time to read a book like this, and I still didn't like it back then, so I don't think I'll ever return to this. But the reason I've kept it in my collection is because it was actually a gift to me from my English teacher. And I think I was 14, I was about to turn 15, it was the end of the school year, and he gave this to me. And the reason he wrote a message here was to encourage me in my writing, because during that year I had written a novella. It was part of a school assessment, but I basically got to choose how I approached that assessment, so I thought I will write a novella. And I think it ended up being about 32,000 words. So it was, at that point, the longest thing I'd ever written. And to this day, it's still the longest thing I've ever written. And there's a reason why. I am incredibly critical of my own work, to the point that it's often hard for me to even start on a new project, and it's only when it comes to writing. Anything else, whatever. But for some reason, I'm so particular about what I write, to the point where I just get frustrated because I can't seem to find a way to please myself with my own work, and I just abandon most projects that I start. And if I'm feeling particularly low about the fact that I'm not able to write what I want to write in a given moment, I open this book and I read that message. It's just a really great encouragement, and that's the reason I will always have this book on my shelf. In terms of monetary value, it has to be this edition of From Dawn to Decadence by Jacques Barzun. This is a history of Western civilization from its early days to the point we're at now, where a lot of historians would claim it's in decline. This is a Folio Society edition, and I am a big fan of Folio Society. I am aware that they are very expensive, and as a 21-year-old, I certainly never pay full price for Folio Society books. I will shop their half-price sales at the beginning of the year, and I think at the beginning of July. Or I will buy them used, and that's how I've acquired every single Folio edition that I own. But this one is definitely the most expensive. Will you pay more for a cover or edition you like better? So yes, I do that, I think, somewhat regularly. Or at least, I am picky with the editions that I buy, even standard editions. I will go on Book Depository and see if I like the UK cover or US cover. Almost all the time it's the UK cover, and I will get that instead. So the next question is, what physical characteristics does a good quality book have? Now I'll split this into hardback and paperback because there are different criteria that need to be met for me to look at each of these kinds of books and say that they are good quality. So for me, in hardbacks, I think the primary concern that I have is that the binding is sewn, not glued, because glue will degrade over time, it will crack under warmer temperatures, and sewn binding does not do that. So for me, especially in a country like Australia where things can get very hot, I do prefer sewn binding. I also like it when books have acid-free paper, and of course, if they do come in a slipcase, that's always a bonus because you're protecting them from the pages from light damage, from dust and other particles. And in terms of paperbacks, I love it when you can open them without bending the spine. So the spine's almost reinforced but with extra glue. I also love me a good French flap. In terms of visuals, I'm open to a lot of different kinds of design, but the book design needs to align with the content of the book. So I think that's all for that question. The final question, aside from the bonus question, is if you won the lottery, what bookish things would you do with the money? Hands down, found my own publishing house, be the editor-in-chief and have full control over which books we publish. That would be amazing. And the graphic designer would be my partner. His work is fantastic in my opinion, my totally not biased opinion. It would be great. Bonus, give us an image, actual or mental, of your dream home library. I don't have a particular image, but I do see a library with bookshelves set into the walls, preferably a largish room, and the bookshelves line the walls. In the center is a large desk where I, would do my writing and pontificate at the wall. It would be lovely. I do have a photo of the library. It comes from this gorgeous book called The Library, A World History. It's published by Thames and Hudson, and it looks stunning. And it's small enough to look achievable in a regular home, but then you start to see, the gold furnishings and things, and you think, maybe not. Let's see what it is. Duchess Anna Amalia's Library from Weimar, Germany. And let's see if I can hold this up. It looks like that. It looks very homely, and yet really, really decadent. It's a nice balance, I think. Okay, so I just realized after filming the video that I hadn't tagged anyone, which is kind of the point of a tag video, right? So I came up with, I think, 3 channels that I have either recently discovered or already enjoy watching. I think they're all really interesting channels, and I don't think, to my knowledge anyway, that they have been tagged. The first person is Juan at Bookish Islander, and I only discovered his channel a couple of days ago, I think, and he is currently doing a Booker retrospective series where he reads each book that won the Booker in a particular decade. So that should be interesting to see. I would love to see his responses to this tag. Another channel I'd like to tag is Ariel Bissett. I don't think she has been tagged by anyone, and I'm always interested to hear what she has to say, so hopefully she'll see this video and do the tag. The final channel I want to tag is Michelle Lexi, and she is a new booktuber. She just put up her booktube newbie tag, and she's from Australia. So, I mean, what more could you ask for, really? But she's great, and I really enjoyed her responses to the booktube newbie tag, so I can't wait to see her channel grow, and I recommend that you go and check it out. So thank you for watching. Thanks to Olive for creating this really interesting tag, and I hope that you have a great day. Bye.